The reflection in the penthouse window showed two people locked in silent combat, her pleading eyes against my stone-cold stare. Manhattan's skyline glittered behind us like the diamonds around her neck that I once couldn't afford. 5 minutes, I said, not turning to face her. That's all you get, Thea. Zephyr, please. Her voice trembled. The same voice that once told me I wasn't enough. The same lips that said she deserved better than a struggling tech developer with empty pockets and pipe dreams. I adjusted my custom Tom Ford suit and finally turned. 9 years had changed her little, still devastatingly beautiful with those hazel eyes that once owned my soul. But 9 years had changed everything for me. Your 5 minutes started 30 seconds ago, I said, leaning against my desk, teakwood, imported, worth more than the entire apartment we once shared. I made a mistake, she whispered. I almost laughed. A mistake. That's what she called leaving me for Riker Westlake, Hollywood's golden boy, after 4.5 years together. That's what she called packing her bags while I was pulling another all-nighter on the prototype that would eventually make me billions. Did Westlake finally get tired of you? I asked, voice like ice. Or did you just read about my company's valuation in Forbes? Her flinch told me everything. 9 years earlier, I had been a different man, exhausted, overworked, and painfully optimistic. Our apartment in Queens was small but filled with dreams. Every night, I'd come home late to find Thea watching another one of Riker Westlake's blockbusters, sighing over his chiseled jawline and mansion tours on celebrity TV shows. You're missing the best part, she'd say, not looking up from the screen where Westlake saved the world for the 5th time that year. I'd kiss her cheek and retreat to our makeshift office, really just a corner of our bedroom where I continued building what would become Neuroverse. My vision was revolutionary. Neural interface technology that would transform everything from medical treatments to how humans interacted with computers. But a revolutionary doesn't pay rent, and passion doesn't put designer clothes on your girlfriend's back. The night she left still burned in my memory. I'd been working for 36 hours straight, fueled by caffeine and determination. My code was finally working, the breakthrough I'd been chasing for months. Thea! I shouted, bursting into our living room. It works. The neural mapping algorithm works. She wasn't in the living room. Instead, I found her in our bedroom, methodically emptying drawers into 2 large suitcases. Open boxes were scattered across the floor, already filled with her books and decorative items. On the bed lay travel documents, a printed itinerary for Los Angeles. What's happening? I asked, my euphoria evaporating instantly. That's great, Zephyr, she said flatly, continuing to fold her designer jeans. I'm sure it'll be wonderful. Someday. I froze, taking in the half-empty closet and the bare shelves where her photographs once stood. What's going on? I can't do this anymore, she said, not meeting my eyes. Riker asked me to come to LA with him. Riker. Westlake. The actor. What are you talking about? She had the decency to look slightly ashamed. We met at the charity event I worked at last month. He's been texting me. He says I have what it takes to make it in Hollywood. The world tilted beneath my feet. You're leaving me for a man you barely know because he's rich and famous? I'm leaving because I'm tired of struggling, she snapped. I'm tired of watching you chase impossibilities while I wear the same clothes for 3 seasons straight. Riker can give me the life I've always dreamed of. And what about us? 4.5 years together means nothing. She slammed the suitcase shut and clicked the locks with deliberate precision. You're brilliant, Zephyr, but brilliance without results is just wasted potential. I can't wait forever and maybe some days. So this is it. I gestured to the half-packed room. 9 years of dreaming together, and you just disappear with a movie star? He has a private jet waiting, she said, her voice softer but no less resolved. I've already signed a preliminary contract with his production company. The next morning, gossip sites exploded with photos of Riker Westlake and his stunning new girlfriend boarding a private jet to Los Angeles. I spent the next week in a stupor of betrayal and heartbreak, alternating between destroying my code and refining it with manic intensity. Then, something shifted within me. A cold clarity replaced the pain. If Thea wanted success and power, I would show her what real success looked like. My heartbreak transformed into determination, not to win her back, but to prove her catastrophically wrong. 3 years after she left, Neuroverse secured its first major investment. 5 years after, our neural interface technology revolutionized prosthetics and brain-computer interfaces. 8 years after she walked out, I became the youngest tech billionaire in America, with a personal worth estimated at $8.7 billion. I never looked back. Never Googled her name. Never checked what happened with her Hollywood ambitions. I dated casually, models, entrepreneurs, even a princess from a small European country, but never let anyone close. My heart remained locked in a vault of memories I refused to access. Until today, when my assistant announced that Thea Valencian was in the lobby, insisting on 5 minutes of my time. "Your mistake," I repeated, pulling myself back to the present moment in my penthouse office. "That's one way to put it." "I was young and stupid," she said, taking a step closer. She wore a simple black dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. "I thought glamour and fame were what I wanted." "And how was life with Westlake?" I asked, curiosity overcoming my better judgment. Her smile was bitter. "Exactly what you'd expect. Exciting at first. Then came the parties, the other women. He dropped me after 11 months for a Victoria's Secret model." I kept my expression neutral, though something twisted inside me. Not sympathy, satisfaction, perhaps. "So you've spent the last 8 years trying to build something of my own," she said. "I started a small marketing company. We're doing well." She paused. "Not Neuroverse well, but respectable." "Congratulations," I said flatly. "Your time is almost up." "I didn't come here to ask for money, if that's what you're thinking," she said, chin rising defiantly. There was the spark that had first attracted me, the fierce independence that had somehow been corrupted by celebrity worship and materialism. "Then why are you here, Thea?" "Closure. Forgiveness. Neither are on today's agenda." "I came because I saw your TED Talk last month," she said, "about neural interfaces helping locked-in syndrome patients communicate again. You were talking about things we used to dream about together." Her voice softened. I realized I've spent 9 years regretting the worst decision of my life. The audacity was almost impressive. "You didn't believe in me then. You don't get to share in my success now." "I don't want your success," she whispered. "I want another chance with a man who used to look at me like I was his whole world." The air between us crackled with tension. For an instant, a treacherous part of me remembered how it felt to hold her, to share dreams with her, to build a future together. Then I remembered her walking out the door. "Time's up," I said, pressing the intercom. "Rebecca, please escort Ms. Valencian out." "Zephyr." "Goodbye, Thea." I turned back to the window, not watching as security led her away. The city lights blurred as unwelcome memories surfaced. 4 weeks after that encounter, I threw myself into work with renewed intensity. Neuroverse was expanding into new markets, and I personally oversaw our latest innovation, an interface that could potentially help restore motor function in paralysis patients. "You're working too hard," said Orion, my COO and the closest thing I had to a friend. "Ever since that woman visited." "This has nothing to do with Thea," I snapped. "I didn't mention her name," Orion said pointedly. "Look, I've known you for 6 years. You've always been driven, but this is different. You're punishing yourself with work." "I'm building a company, not writing a therapy journal." "The gala is tomorrow night," he reminded me. "Major investors, potential partners. You need to be present, not distracted by ghosts." I waved him off, but his words lingered. Ghosts. That's what Thea should be to me now, a specter from the past, nothing more. The gala was held at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, with Neuroverse as the primary sponsor. As CEO, I made my obligatory rounds, shaking hands, discussing neural interface applications, accepting congratulations on our latest stock valuation. Then I saw her across the room. Thea wore a midnight blue gown that caught the light as she moved. She was deep in conversation with the head of a major medical technology company, one of our potential partners. "She's representing Valencian marketing," Orion murmured, appearing at my elbow. "They're handling the promotional campaign for Novatech's new surgical systems." "Cosmic coincidence, isn't it?" You knew she would be here, I accused. I knew you needed to face this distraction head-on instead of pretending it doesn't exist, he replied unapologetically. Now, are you going to hide by the shrimp cocktail all night, or act like the CEO you are? Pride propelled me forward. I circulated the room with deliberate purpose, strategically avoiding Thea's corner until it would have been conspicuous to continue doing so. Finally, I found myself face-to-face with her and Dr. Damon from Novatech. Zephyr Caspian, Dr. Damon beamed. I was just telling Ms. Valentian how impressed I am with Neuroverse's new motor function interface. Thank you, Damon, I said smoothly. Ms. Valentian and I are actually old acquaintances. Oh. Dr. Damon looked between us with interest. Water under a burned bridge, I said with a dismissive smile. Thea's eyes flashed. Not just any water. Zephyr and I used to share dreams before I made the colossal mistake of walking away. Dr. Damon's eyebrows shot up. Well, I see there's a story here. I'll leave you two to catch up while I find more champagne. As he disappeared into the crowd, Thea and I stood in charged silence. Bold move, I finally said, discussing our personal history at a professional event. Honesty is my new policy, she replied. Something I learned too late. I gestured to a quiet alcove away from the main crowd. Let's not create a scene. Once relatively private, I turned to her. What are you playing at, Thea? First my office, now here. It's not a game, she said. I'm rebuilding my life, professionally and personally. Running into you tonight was a coincidence. Novatech is my biggest client. And the visit to my office. Was I finally finding the courage to face the worst mistake of my life? Her eyes never left mine. I didn't come to ask for money or connections or anything else. I came to tell you that I was wrong. Devastatingly, soul-crushingly wrong. Something in her sincerity pierced the armor I'd built. It was a long time ago. Not long enough for either of us to forget, she observed. I don't blame you. What I did was unforgivable. Yet here you are, asking for forgiveness. She shook her head. Not asking for anything I don't deserve. Just acknowledging the truth. I understand now what I threw away. Not the billions or the success, but you. Your vision. Your heart. She paused. The man who could see possibilities where others saw only fantasies, who had the courage to chase what others called impossible. The words hung between us, too honest to deflect with sarcasm or dismissal. You look good, Thea, I said finally. Your company is doing well. Her small smile acknowledged the change of subject. Growing every year. Turns out I had some hustle in me after all. After Westlake, I had to figure out who I really was without the glitter. And who was that? Someone stronger than I knew. Someone who had to learn things the hard way. She hesitated. Someone who never stopped thinking about what she lost. The chamber quartet began a new piece, the music floating through the grand hall. Around us, couples moved to the small dance floor. Would you? She began, then stopped herself. No, I've asked enough of you. Before I could respond, she straightened her shoulders. It was good seeing you, Zephyr. I mean that. What you've built is extraordinary, exactly what you always said you would create. She turned to leave, and something unnamed and urgent propelled me forward. Wait. She stopped. One dance, I said, surprising myself. For ancient history. Her hand trembled slightly as she placed it in mine, and we moved to the dance floor. The familiar scent of her perfume, she still wore the same one, threatened to unlock memories I'd sealed away. I read about all your philanthropy, she said as we danced. The neural interfaces for underprivileged hospitals, the research grants. Just good business, I deflected. No, she shook her head. It's the Zephyr I knew. The one who wanted to help people, not just make money. We danced in silence for several measures. After you, she said softly, I tried dating other wealthy men, thinking that was what I wanted. But they weren't you. No one has your mind, your vision. Her eyes met mine. Your capacity for both brilliance and kindness. I'm not kind, Thea. Not anymore. You are, she insisted. You've just built walls to pretend otherwise. The music ended, and we stood still while others around us applauded. I should get back to my guests, I said, releasing her hand. Of course. She stepped back. Thank you for the dance, Zephyr. As she walked away, I felt the walls I'd built beginning to crack. 3 days later, I found myself outside the modest offices of Valencian Marketing in downtown Manhattan. Through the glass doors, I could see a small but tasteful reception area with the company's logo, a silver phoenix rising from abstract digital waves. Before I could reconsider, I pushed through the door. The receptionist's eyes widened in recognition. Mr. Caspian, do you have an appointment? No, I admitted. But I'm hoping Ms. Valencian has a few minutes. Moments later, I was shown into Thea's office, a bright corner space with views of the city, decorated with modern art and framed campaign materials. She looked up from her computer, surprise evident on her face. Zephyr. I was in the neighborhood, I lied. She smiled knowingly. Of course you were. I glanced around her office, noting the awards displayed on one wall. Impressive. Thank you, she said. We've worked hard. Started with just me and one graphic designer. Now we're 22 people. I nodded, suddenly unsure why I'd come. Orion at the Met mentioned you're handling campaigns for several medical technology companies. Yes, she confirmed. After everything, I wanted to work on meaningful projects. Healthcare technology felt right. Following my industry? I asked, a hint of my old bitterness resurfacing. She didn't flinch. Creating my own path that happens to run parallel to yours. I wandered to her window, looking out at the city below. Why didn't you reach out sooner? It's been 9 years. Pride. Shame. She stood, moving to join me at the window. Fear that you'd look at me exactly the way you did in your office last month. And what way was that? Like I was nothing to you anymore. Our reflections in the glass stood side by side, so different from that distant day when she'd packed her bags. Success had changed us both, but in different ways. When you left, I said, my voice dropping to a near whisper, you tore something out of me that I never got back. I know, she said, her fingers pressing against the glass. I've carried that weight every day since I walked away. I convinced myself that I was building Neuroverse out of spite, I admitted. That every milestone was a slap to your decision. Was it? I leaned against the window frame, studying her profile. It started that way. Then it became an obsession to fill the void you left. Now it's become something I never expected, I said. A legacy that matters. A way to heal others when I couldn't heal myself. I exhaled slowly. But seeing you again has cracked open something I thought was permanently sealed. Her eyes glistened. And I only saw what you could become, not who you already were. That was my mistake. The air between us felt electric, charged with unspoken words and 7 years of separate lives. I'm not offering forgiveness, I said carefully. At least, not yet. I understand. But maybe we could start again, I suggested. Slowly. Coffee, perhaps. Her smile was radiant but cautious. I'm in. I should warn you, I added. I'm not the same optimistic dreamer you left behind. And I'm not the same shallow girl who left, she countered. We've both changed. Maybe that's not a bad thing. Outside her window, the afternoon sun broke through the clouds, casting the city in golden light. 7 years of anger began to release its grip on my heart, replaced by something more complex. Not forgiveness, exactly, but possibility. Coffee, then, I said. Tomorrow. Tomorrow, she agreed. As I left her office, I felt lighter than I had in years. The walls I'd built weren't destroyed. That would take time and trust. But for the first time since she walked out of my life, I allowed myself to consider that some things broken might still be repaired. Not to what they were before, but to something new, something tested by fire and time, something potentially stronger. The revenge I'd imagined, showing her exactly what she'd thrown away, suddenly seemed hollow compared to the possibility of what might still be built, this time on a foundation of hard-earned wisdom rather than naive dreams. After all, true success wasn't measured in billions or headlines, but in the courage to risk your heart again after it had been shattered. And that, I was beginning to think, might be my most daring venture yet.